For someone who's just starting in the business world, what advice would you offer on how to effectively and manage and cope with stress?
I'd start with I am responsible.
Yeah.
Everything you have or don't have, you're responsible. If you can start there,
Yeah.
you can just take responsibility for yourself, then everything else drives from that. Then everything else, then your whole thought pattern is about what you're going to do,
Yeah.
okay? Rather than, oh, what are they doing to me, right? So I am responsible. That's a key.
Navigating the boundary between encouraging personal or professional growth and avoiding undue stress can be challenging as a leader. How do you approach this fine line, ensuring that you push individuals out of their comfort zones while also respecting that fine line of crossing that boundary?
That's a good question. You should read the book. What? Here's the best answer I can give on that question. Guiding people. That's why coaching is so important today. You got to listen. That doesn't mean I have to validate or believe or buy in to what you perceive your challenge to be. My job is to help you look at the challenge and look for ways to overcome that challenge. And those ways can be many different ways. There could be things you need to stop doing that causes that challenge to come in your life that you don't see. What I found, and particularly for myself, there's many things I don't see. So learning to listen was a challenge for me. I'm a talker. I'm a salesperson and always have been. So I've had to learn how to listen and hear things that people are saying and understand what they're really saying and what they're really feeling. If I can figure out what you're feeling, and it requires a little bit of time, a little bit of investment. I've got to know what it is you want. I've got to know what's driving you and learn to use that in my coaching with you to where you can then achieve what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And something we all need to work on is measurements. A lot of the time, a lot of the perceived problem isn't the problem. Sometimes we don't have the proper measurements in place.
Yeah.
And measurements really help you with that. If you can learn to measure all the different things you're trying to do in your life, and then you've got a clear measurement, and you can ask yourself, is this moving me closer to or farther away?
Yeah.
So I think that helps. And that's the leader's job, is to help people see that. I'm going to tell you, my personal thoughts. Everything's changed. Everything's changed, and everything's going to continue to change. There's a whole new generation of people coming into the workforce. Different desires, different needs, different beliefs. So if we don't have the ability the leader's job is to take what is my raw product? My raw product is human resource.
Of course.
If I can't take that human resource and work with them to get them to be the best they can be, I'm doomed. Right? Then what am I doing? How am I going to produce the results I need to produce if I can't do it through other people? A leader only produces as much as his team produces for him. That's the bottom line. I've said it many times over the years, is you can be the best at what you're doing, but you're never going to produce with a team of people the best at what they're doing are going to produce for you. And that's more important today than ever because artificial intelligence. It is, if we're not looking at that and thinking about that today, think about this. Think about all the jobs that are going to be lost.
Of course.
Okay? So now what's going to happen? Supervision and management are going to become more and more important as a job because those are going to be the jobs that are available. Mm-hmm. Okay? So if you don't have the ability to lead people, you're really limiting what you're going to be able to do in the future.
Most definitely. As a leader, do you believe it's our responsibility to guide and support our teams throughout this transition? The generations, there was a time in the 70s where there was a headline saying young people don't want to work anymore. And then in the 80s, young people don't want to work anymore. Then the 90s. So each generation has a difficulty relating to a younger generation.
We're looking backwards.
Yeah.
We're looking backwards. We're looking from our experience. And that's why we're going to have that. Our experience is driving our thoughts and our opinions and how we feel. Think about that. If you were a 50, 60-year-old man back in the 70s, it had to set your hair on fire. Here are kids wearing
Yeah.
jeans with patches, and they're growing their hair out, and they're growing out beards. I mean, you're talking about a guy that grew up around khaki pants, sidewalls for a
Yeah.
haircut, and you know. So as we got into the 70s, we started thinking a little bit more. We started being a little bit. It had to be night and day for him. Well,
Yeah.
it's the same thing today. You got the famous Gen X and Gen
Yeah.
G and this. And yeah, we have conversation about, oh, they don't want to work. I think we all want to work. I think the challenge, same challenge that was in the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, is if we can help people define their purpose.
Yeah.
That's the challenge. The challenge that young people have is the same challenge we had when we were growing up. Defining a purpose. What do I want to do?
Yeah.
What do I want to do? Where do I want to be? Right? Because it all starts there. Once you define that vision, then you start getting into an area of opportunity of choices. What we've got to do is, first of all, help young people get a vision, and then we got to help young people how to map that out.
Yeah.
And understanding actions produce results.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. That I've got a famous saying I've talked about for years with people that I've worked with is that what you most think about is what you're going to have.
Of course.
So if you're thinking about what you don't want, that's what you're going to have.
Yeah.
So how do I get that? How do I take that as an individual and turn that around to where I'm focused my time and energy, my space up here? This is the most expensive real estate in the world between my ears. So if I'm not spending some time training that and working on that, and then I can take actions and measure those. I make choices every day. I heard a thing the other day. It's a great thing. You look at choices. I made a choice. Did I want to stay up late playing that video game or go to bed, get a good night's sleep so I can go in and be full energy tomorrow? That was a choice.
Yes.
That wasn't an accident. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
I made that choice, and I really discovered that when I quit drinking.
Wow.
The drastic change in my life, probably the biggest drastic change was my mental sharpness, my energy level, right? And the amount of time I gained, so it's all choices.
I want to get back a little bit to your personal life, if you don't mind. When you arrived to Mexico, how long ago was that?
I arrived in Mexico in 1978.
Wow.
Interesting story. I'd been out of the Marine Corps a year, and actually I'd been working for UPS, which has a wonderful structured leadership structure and training to grow leaders within the company. They're just really, really a beautiful thing. But I came down here on my first vacation from that job. For me, what happened is I met the mother of my two oldest boys and made a decision to stay. There was a mixture of things. You got to remember, I drove here from Texas. So I'm driving over the hill, coming down that road from Mexico City. I drive over the hill to go into, imagine a 22-year-old kid looking down on that road and saying, oh my goodness, this is something else, right? So that was a big impression. Then I met Estrella, and of course I ended up getting married with
This
Estrella.
was Acapulco.
Yes, this was Acapulco. My
Wow.
oldest boy was born in Acapulco.
Oh, 1978.
Yes.
Acapulco. I can only imagine.
End of the golden era.
Wow.
End of the golden era.
So you started working there.
I started working in Acapulco in a restaurant, actually. It was my wife had a brother that worked in a restaurant. He got me a job in a restaurant. I was an assistant manager in a restaurant. I had been working in restaurants since being a kid. So that's how I started.
Yeah.
I was there for a year, and not even a year, almost a year, and then I got into what I presently do, which is the hospitality industry. Mainly my focus is vacation ownership.